Hi students! In this lesson, we're going to be talking about the past perfect. To get started, I've got a little bit of a story to tell you. Please pay attention, and I'm going to ask you to help along the way telling the story. So Daniel's mother arrived home from a trip yesterday. We can see her on the left. She had been gone for 2 weeks because she had been visiting her sister in New York. When Daniel's mom arrived home, Daniel, beep, at the kitchen table. The house, beep, immaculate. Daniel's mom was so pleased that she had such a responsible teenager who could take care of everything while she was gone. So this is the beginning of our story. If you could please fill in the gaps with one of the verb tenses that we've talked about already in this class. You can pause the video while you think about it because I'm going to give you the answers right now. So when Daniel's mom arrived home, Daniel was sitting at the kitchen table, past progressive, right? The house looked immaculate, simple past, right? Okay, very good. So we're going to continue this story, and in a moment I'm going to introduce our new verb tense, but I'm very glad that you have guessed the old verb tenses in our little review. So little did Daniel's mom know when she came home that Daniel had made a huge mess of the house before she came home because he had thrown the party of the year in his dear mother's house. We can see at the bottom all of the pictures of the morning after the party, right? Luckily, Daniel is a smart boy, and he had cleaned up everything before his mom came home. So his mother had no idea that he had thrown this huge party. So my question for you students is, what do you think Daniel had done before his mother came home? You can take a look at the pictures to see what the house looked like early in the morning, and then think about how Daniel must have cleaned up the house. What had he done to make his mom think there was no party? Again, you can pause the video while you think about it, write some sentences down in your notebook, because I'm going to give you the answers right now. So you might have said something like, Daniel had picked up all the empty bottles before his mom came home. He had done all of the dishes, right? He had swept and mopped the floors. And Daniel was so happy that his mom hadn't noticed any clues that he had thrown a crazy party the night before, right? So again, these are just my sentences. You probably have other sentences too. That's great. But take a minute to look at the sentences I've written and the blue words. What do you notice about the words in blue? So you probably notice this verb had is the same for each and every sentence. This one's negative, so it's hadn't. Do you notice anything about the main verb? Picked up, done, swept, noticed, and thrown. What form of the verb is that? Okay, so hopefully you've thought about this a little bit. Again, you can pause the video if you want more thinking time. I'm going to give you the answers now. So the verb tenses that we've seen in blue, it's called the past perfect. And the past perfect shows two events that happened in the past, right? That's why we call it past perfect. Here's the formula for past perfect. So we have subject, we have had, as we saw in all of those sentences use had. If it's negative, we're going to add not. And then we're going to use verb 3 or past participle, right? Verb 3 is a word like thrown, right? Or picked up, right? Or played, or gone, or seen, right? The third form of the verb. So we use past perfect to talk about the earlier event. Every time we use past perfect, this is the event that happened first. And then the simple past is often used in the same sentence to talk about the second or later event. So if we look at this example sentence here, Daniel had thrown a party when his mother came home. We see past perfect here, so we know that the first event is he first threw a party. And then came is simple past, so we know that this is the later event or the second event. His mother came home after he had thrown the party. Okay. So I have another sentence here for you. I'd like you to read it and then try to decide, based on these two rules here, what is the first event and what is the second event? In other words, what event happened first, what happened later, right? So again, you can pause the video while you read the sentence and think about it. I'm going to give you the answers in just a moment. Okay, so if you said, the first event is he cleaned up all the bottles, you are correct. Good job. Because this is the past perfect, had and verb 3. Past perfect talks about the earlier event, the first event. And then the second event is his mom's plane touched down. Touchdown is simple past. Simple past is for the later event, so that's the second event. So in the past perfect, we often use it together with the simple past in the same sentence to show which event happened first, which event happened second in the past. There are some times when the relationship between the two events is super clear, right? And in those times, we might use simple past for both events. This is especially true when we're speaking. When we're speaking, we don't use past perfect that much, but when we're writing an academic essay, right, we definitely want to use the correct grammar, meaning use the past perfect to show that's the first action, right? We also see these words with after, before, or as soon as, right, to show that the relationship is clear. So again, if you're speaking, you can use simple past for both events, but if you're writing an academic essay, use past perfect for the first event, simple past for the later or the second event. Here at the top, we have a reminder of the formula. And then we also have a reminder of the use to show that two actions happened and finished in the past. One action finished before the other began. This is how we use and how we form past perfect. So I've got one more sentence here. By the age of 16, my friend had already become fluent in 3 languages, right? And a couple of questions for you. Which action happened first? And therefore, which tense shows us this action happened first? Again, pause the video while you think about it. I'm going to give you the answers right now. Which action happened first? Well, based on the rule we know, she learned 3 languages first, and then she turned 16, right? And what tense tells us? The past perfect tells us that that action happened first. So had become fluent, right? Past perfect shows that that happened first. Here's another sentence. Again, please read it and decide which action happened first. By the time we got married, my husband and I had both gotten our master's degrees. Can you use the rule to decide which action happened first and which action happened second? So we got married in the past, right? Did we get our master's degree before we got married or after we got married? Before we got married, because we see past perfect here, right? So I hope that helps you understand a little bit about how we use past perfect. I also want to point out that there are some common key words that we very often use with the past perfect. These are words like already, yet, ever, and never. Now, we use these words with other verb tenses as well, right? So don't think, oh, just because I use this word, I have to use past perfect. No. We use them with present perfect as well, for example, and other verb tenses as well. But we do use them with past perfect a lot. So we have some example sentences here that you can pause the video and read over. Again, you can practice asking yourself, which action happened first and how do I know? And then lastly, you can write some sentences of your own, personalize it. So again, I'd like you to pause the video and finish the sentence on your own. By the time I got to class today, I had already, try to use the past perfect there. Number 2, I saw recently. I had never beep it before. Maybe I saw a new movie recently. Maybe I saw a new city, right? Number 3, I beep recently. I had never beep before. So again, a new activity you had never done before, but you did recently. Again, we're going to use simple past here and then past perfect here to say this happened first and then this happened second. And then the last one, by 2018, I had already. So say something you had already done by the time it turned 2018. Use past perfect here. So again, try just a little bit of practice to personalize this grammar and try to use it on your own. Again, pause the video. We won't go over the answers here. Okay, lastly, I have a little review of the perfect verb tenses that we've talked about so far. So before this, we had learned present perfect. And in this lesson, we learned past perfect, right? So we're going to review these 2 verb tenses in the next few slides. Number 1 is choose the best answer. Pause the video while you think about it. Be careful, these are tricky, right? Number 1, we've known Sally beep a long time. Do you have your answer? I'm going to give you my answer now. For a long time, right? Because it's a period of time. Number 2, again, pause the video to give yourself some think time. These are tricky. They beep here for 3 years before they moved. The correct answer? They had lived here. We know to use the past perfect because if we look at the other verb in this sentence, it's simple past. So if this action happened first, they lived here for 3 years first, and then they moved second, then we need to use past perfect, right, to show that this action finished in the past. If we use letter B, right, have lived here for 3 years, that means that they are still living here now. So we don't want to say that, right, because they moved. Number 3, they beep here for 3 years, but they are considering moving. For this one, the correct answer is have lived from the past 3 years ago until now, right? They have lived here from the past until now. It's still happening now, but they are considering moving. So present progressive tells us that they still live here now, but they're thinking about maybe we should move in the future. Number 4, Professor Kidd beep 4 books since 1999, and she's working on her 5th. What do you think? Correct answer? Has written, right? We have this keyword since 1999, and we also have present progressive. She's working on her 5th. That means that from the past until now, she's written 4 books. Do you think she'll write another one in the future? Probably, because she is working on one now. So this is an action from the past until now. And number 5, Professor Kidd beep her first book before she turned 30. What do you think the correct answer is? Notice it's a little different from number 4. Correct answer is past perfect, had written. Professor Kidd had written her first book. That's action is first. Before she turned 30 years old. That action is second, right? So again, we use past perfect to show 2 finished actions in the past. One action finished before the other began. All right, students, I hope that this was helpful to you in understanding more about the past perfect and also reviewing what we know about present perfect and past perfect, the two perfect verb tenses that we're focusing on in this class. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.